Everyone understands that quality in life is really, really important, but quality in the nuclear industry is really essential to everyday operations. It's essential to NNL's activities in developing new technologies, in researching new topics, and it really underpins everything that we do. NNL values quality above anything else.
Now, as a franchise, we started life in December 2004 when the competition for what has turned out to be named the Northern franchise ended. We were given ostensibly then a 7-year franchise life. Now, I think that's quite important because it's 7 years is not a long period of time, so effectively we're quite a young company. It's actually been extended to 9 years in our case because in the contract there was a natural extension clause based on the delivery of certain elements of quality in terms of performance and other criteria. We're quite a big train company. We run 2,500 trains a day. We're actually the largest train operator in the country if you measure it by number of trains run per day. 88 million journeys made with us every year. We have 290 diesel and electric trains which we lease, and we have about 4,800 employees. Now that background set us, when we came together, a whole series of challenges as a new company. We had a large, diverse and, I must be blunt, and unreliable fleet of trains. Most of our trains, the fleet we get, are 20 plus years old. I mean, a lot of them were second generation diesel multiple units built by British Rail in the 1980s. And in one of the companies previously, there had been a long-running saga of bubbling discontent, and associated with that some elements of low morale. And also, quite importantly, we have an interact with a lot of stakeholders. The passenger transport executives, of which we have 5, interact with us. And the relationships before had not that they've been bad, but they've been inconsistent and fragmented. And finally, and most importantly, when the franchise was let, it was let as a steady state franchise. Northern is basically one of the most heavily subsidised franchises in the country. And the government aspiration at that time, turn the clock back to the 90s, was that we get an operator in who will run it just basically as it is. It wasn't like Virgin, a new train on the West Coast, new trains, new infrastructure, or TransPennine, commitment to new trains and a refurbishment of all the stations. It was steady state. It was quite clear that train service reliability and customer service was not where it needed to be, both in terms of what the franchise expected and what the customer expected. There was no real identity of who the train operator was in the north, whether it was Arriva, First North West or whoever. We wanted to create also, even more crucially, a clear vision, mission, values and behaviours that meant that not only was what Northern about clear to our customers and stakeholders, but even more importantly, it was clear and embedded in our employees and our culture. There was a very buoyant economy in 2004. There was a lot of spending going on. Leeds was growing, as was Manchester, as employment zones, and therefore people were flocking to us. And also the price of travelling by road was getting higher. The holding company and our board said, we've got to attract more investment into this business. Standing still is just not good enough. So from day one, we actually started to very closely and clearly interact with these people, our employees and key stakeholders and customers, and developed our mission, vision and values. The business planning process itself, as most of you would expect, goes through a traditional EFQM type of cycle. In fact, we have annual reviews of progress of where we've got to. We do SWOT and pestle analysis. Very important for us, the business, because at the moment the external environment, economically and otherwise, is so dynamic that year on year quite significant changes are happening that mean you've got to fine-tune your plan year on year. That was a process that didn't exist. So we're putting in place what are simple basic foundations for quality management systems. So from 2005, we actually started with our first internal self-assessment, and we've moved on every year since then, growing and learning year on year, plus with some independent external advice. Accountable, progressive, ambitious and genuine, they're our labels. Those values and behaviours are key to the way we recruit people, they're key to the way people's performance management reviews are done, and it's the whole of our business plan and structure is also built to embrace those values. What we've actually been running for the last few years is culminating in this Forward 2000 series. This is Forward 2011. It's our document which has inside it all of our mission, vision, values, what we intend to do, our objectives, and also all of the business plan objectives for the year. all of our managers, senior managers, middle managers, and in a diluted version down to our staff, are open to this and understand this and aware of this. But more importantly, we share this with our key stakeholders and key partners. So where does that take us? Well, what it takes us to is we've got put in place that structure that enables us to interact, we believe, very effectively with our partners. We've got the Department for Transport, who obviously are the people who, our lords and masters, we let the franchise from them, but they're also a partner in developments and things we want to do. The passenger transport executives, Greater Manchester, West Yorkshire, South Yorkshire, just to name three of them. They're our customers, our suppliers, very important to us, our suppliers. Local authorities, Lancashire County Council around here, for example, Cumbria County Council. Network Rail, they own the tracks, they provide the routes that we run on. It's important that they're hugely important partners for us. We could actually, with those people, just sit and work the contract. We have a contract, but I think most people have contracts know it's better if the contract sits in the drawer and you actually work on it and work on your partnership and have a good and effective relationship. We do hold stakeholder conferences every year to make sure we get feedback from people and get understanding of what they want, and that feeds into things like partnership development plans. We work with community schemes, voluntary work. For example, in York, we work very hard with York Cares. We also do things like refurbishing children's playgrounds at deprived schools and things like that, and do that with volunteer work and free resources are put in, sometimes with our supplier partners as well, to actually do something and add something back to the community. We monitor and take in every year customer and stakeholder feedback. Some of it we're required to do for customers, and it's done through the franchise, through national passenger surveys. But we go out and commission independent research ourselves with our stakeholders to tell us, are we doing what you expect? How do you rate us? Refurbishing stations, doing things that we were not required to do in our franchise. Lancashire County Council, for example, have an aspiration to do, but we find by working together as partners with Network Rail, you make it happen. We have actually said that we want to leave a positive legacy even if we don't win a rebid for the next franchise. Throughout our portfolio of 460 odd stations, we've now got a very broad range of station improvements, of major improvements, and most of that has been done because we have worked with other partners and they've responded by working with us, and between us we've generated money, trust and left a legacy and benefited the customer. Vodafone, now that's a very successful partnership that's developing with us. We have a commercial contract with them to buy telephone minutes and Blackberries, because we actually have all of our conductors on trains have a Blackberry. But what we've done above and beyond that, mutually entered into a collaboration agreement with Vodafone where we exchange and cross-fertilise with knowledge on marketing, estates management, all those things which are outside of the contract. It's separate from the contract, but we've agreed that it is mutually beneficial for both of us to work together. And from that, we all get benefits, which we should then feed down into the way we run our business. Our marketing team has already benefited from understandings from the way that Vodafone do their marketing that we're trying to embrace. And we've exchanged cross-fertilisation of things like estates management. They got loads of shops, we've got loads of stations. So we're exchanging best practice and getting good ideas across to each other, which we then feed back down into our businesses. Over the last 4 years, the train service performance has improved immeasurably across the northern services. But that's not just down to Northern, it's actually us having a very good relationship with Network Rail, the train manufacturing companies, our maintenance suppliers, a whole host of people. If we hadn't worked hard to bring them on board and have them work with us, we would not have achieved the levels of success that we have. We've got a lot more to do, but what that does give us encouragement is that because we know how the FQM model works and it requires demonstration of leadership, in values and behaviours, working with partners, because all those things we believe are coming out have shown through in the external assessments we've had through the FQM model, gives us assurance that what we're doing does work. And it's a bit of a tick in the box for us and a bit of a reassurance that we're going down the right track. However, there's always more to do.
I think today has been an extremely useful day in terms of promoting the organisation. There's been a lot of good contacts here Everyone again here has a common purpose. Everyone is interested in quality, is keen to see quality progress throughout the nuclear industry, but more importantly for smaller companies throughout the supply chain.